This part of my IVF journey is one of the most difficult to talk about, and it's actually one of the hardest chapters of my life. To go from starting to do medicated cycles to ending in a miscarriage, it was actually something I wasn't expecting, and it actually led me to a mini depression. Hey girl, welcome back to my series where I'm talking about my IVF journey. This is episode 2 in that series where I'm talking about the highs and lows of having a medicated cycle as well as experiencing my very first miscarriage. In episode 1, which I will link here, I talked about how everything started in the beginning, leading up to going into a fertility specialist in order to find out why I wasn't pregnant. So this one will focus more on the actual beginning stages that led up to my first miscarriage. This is a very heavy topic and a lot of things in this video will be triggering. However, this is a very important chapter in my pursuit of having a second baby. So I feel like it's really important to share with you. December 2022, and now we're in March of 2023 when we started our first medicated cycles.
So I'm gonna do like mini style vlogs for this. So my husband and I have been trying for 11 months to conceive a second baby. We have what they call unexplained infertility. And so this is my first Clomid cycle. It will probably be my first and last for a while if we don't get pregnant this cycle. Today is Monday, April 3rd, 2023. And I picked up the Clomid from the doctor. I have to take it for 5 days. And this Saturday, I'm going to go back into the doctor to see if I like where we are with the follicles and stuff. Ever since having my son, I have a blue tongue because I had McDonald's. Ever since I had my son, my cycles have gone from 28 to 24 or 25. They usually hover around 24 days. And so I'm currently cycle day 4. And when I went in for like my baseline, they could already see that a couple of follicles were starting to grow. So hopefully this will be the cycle that we get pregnant. My birthday is April 29th. So this will be a really nice birthday gift if we can get this baby on and cracking. The time is now 6:30. And so probably around 7, I'm going to take the Clomid. I'll show you what it looks like. I'm taking 50 milligrams for the next 5 days. So from today till Friday. And I will keep you posted about what happens. But everyone from what I've seen, Clomid's not really something that messes with people's stomach or anything. But I never thought we would be in this space of having to take any type of like fertility or go this step. But here we are. I am 36 at the time of recording this. So we will see, girl.
I remember so vaguely because I started recording myself taking my very first injection because I never thought that I would be self-injecting for anything in order to try and get pregnant. So that was a very interesting time and process, and I was very, very scared. I've never injected myself with any type of needle, so I had my husband do it, and I was freaking out the entire time because I'm like, I cannot believe I have to shoot myself. Like, normally your body puts in parameters to like protect yourself, and so self-harm is one of those things that like innately you cannot do. You have to like overpower your brain to inject yourself with anything or inflict self-harm. So I had my husband do it because I couldn't do it. I'm sorry. I couldn't do it. The purpose of us doing the medicated cycles, so there are several different types of medicated cycles that you can do. The very first medication that I took was Clomid. And then what they do is after you take Clomid is just a hormone so that while you are in the process of leading up to ovulation, it will help produce an extra follicle or 2 so that you have a higher chance of getting pregnant naturally. And then once your follicles, which your eggs, reach a certain number, then you would trigger, which is to take a medication to actually make the follicle burst, which releases the egg. And then, of course, it starts the whole cycle of the sperm meeting egg. And y'all know that jazz. So back in March, that's what we were doing. And it didn't work. So after you do the injections, I want to back up a little bit, because if you are doing any type of medicated cycle or they're monitoring you, you have to go to the doctor early. They're doing blood work. You're getting stuck. They're sticking things up your hoo-ha constantly. It is a very mentally and physically draining process, because for at least 14 days, you are heavily monitored from the time you start your period until the time you ovulate, just so that they can make sure they time everything correctly. And that is also very nerve-wracking, because you're like, oh my God, I have to make sure I'm taking my medication at a certain time. I can't miss this dosage. I have to make sure that I'm drinking enough water, I'm getting enough rest. Depending on some medications that you're taking, you cannot exercise. So it's a lot of lifestyle changes that you have to make that I didn't even know you had to do when doing medicated cycles. So that was another added part of the stress of doing that. And so we started doing that in March. So we did it March, April, and then May of 2023. And then I exhausted my coverage for doing the medicated cycle. I'm very fortunate that my insurance had some level of coverage for that, but I do wish that it would have, we would have been able to try again. So after May of 2023, my husband and I were like, okay, we're going to take a break because this was a lot. And then in June of 2023, I found out I was pregnant. I have short menstrual cycles in general. They don't go to 28 days. As you get older, your menstrual cycles do change. So I kind of already knew that if I didn't get my period by a certain day, I have always been clockwork. I've never missed my period except for when I was pregnant with my son. So when my period didn't come, I'm like, okay, yeah, I need to go take a pregnancy test. What was kind of unfortunate during this time is that I lost one of my best friends, my mentor, my sister-in to cancer. And so I found out she died over Memorial Day weekend in 2023. And that's when I also found out I was pregnant. And when I told my husband, like, none of us were excited, because I'm like, I just lost my friend and now I am pregnant and I don't know what to do with all this emotion. So I definitely felt guilty, because it's like, I'm pregnant with this new life, but this great person just lost their life. And it's definitely something that I still reconcile with and I feel very guilty about. When I saw the lines, I was excited, but I just knew something was strange with this pregnancy. It wasn't like with my son, where when I found out I was pregnant, like there was no question. It was like the lines were super dark. He was here and that was it. But with this pregnancy, the lines were kind of faint. And they would get a little darker, but I always compared my pregnancies to my son, because he's the only viable pregnancy that I've had. So when the lines weren't getting super dark, I knew something was wrong. And then on June 8th of 2023, which was the day of my friend's funeral, I found out that I was having a chemical, which they do consider a miscarriage, and that I would need to stop taking like all the, progesterone medication, because it wasn't going to be viable since it wasn't doubling. So that was very heartbreaking, because not only was I burying my friend, but then I had to sit there in the funeral and know that this pregnancy was just not going to be viable. It was very devastating, and I was depressed, because I'm like, what is going on with my body? I never had these issues, and I was just very uncertain about if I was even going to be able to get pregnant again. Now, mind you, in 2023, I am 37. So just a little bit after 35, but not too technically old where I should be having real severe problems getting pregnant. It's obvious, which was a good thing, that I could naturally get pregnant, But now it raised more questions as to why this pregnancy did not stick. And that is what led to more questions as to what is actually going on after having a successful pregnancy and now I'm not. You start side-eyeing like, what is going on? We took a few more months off after that because, like I said, I'm like, what is going on? And I had to really heal from the miscarriage and losing my friend, and I needed to take a few months off. So it wasn't until towards the end of 2023 that my husband and I even discussed trying again. The next phase would be to do IVF. My company's insurance covered 3, like, I would say transactions within IVF, but honestly, I wasn't even sure if I wanted to go through that process. I would look online and see what the girls had to go through, and I'm like, I was freaking out just doing a little shot to trigger. Like, how am I going to be doing these shots every single day for 14 days by myself? Like, I don't even know if I want to do that. And I had to kind of sit with it and ask myself, like, do I really want to move forward in this phase of trying to have a second baby? Like, is IVF really, really necessary? So those were a lot of things I was thinking about. Like, is this necessary? Do I really need to go through IVF? Can we just try naturally? And later on, it would be discovered that I'm practically infertile without IVF. But at the time, that's some of the things I had to sit with. Like, why can't we just get pregnant naturally? I just do not understand. Now, granted, when I had my son back in 2019, I wasn't a real spring chicken there either. I was 33, about to turn 34 when I gave birth to my son. So you're not dealing with like super young people here, but that's just some of the stuff that I thought about at the time. Like, why is this so difficult? Mind you, I'm seeing people my age, peers, people I went to school with, older people having a baby, and it's very triggering. It's very triggering to see people that your same age get pregnant and you're sitting here like, I just had a miscarriage and I'm not sharing this with anybody. So it was very hard at that time. It was very hard to reconcile with all those feelings. Looking back on that experience, it really taught me a lot about my strength and the strength of my husband as well as my son. He saw the shots, and of course at that time he was 3, so he's not understanding why mommy is shooting herself. Like, he's not understanding what's going on. And then also I have to give my husband a lot of credit too, because he's seeing all this physical changes from the hormones and the medication that it's doing to my body. And so he has to sit in that too, as well as his own feelings that, you know, even though we're trying for a second baby, it may not manifest itself. And we just leaned on each other at that time. And only at that time, our immediate family members knew about our IVF journey. I didn't share it with any friends, and neither did he. We kept everything very close to the vest, because when you see your friends getting pregnant, it's kind of hard to share that you're struggling, you know? But I'm very proud of us. I'm very proud of myself that I did something that I told myself I would never do to try and get a different outcome. I'm a fixed sign as a Taurus, so stretching ourselves sometimes can be very challenging. But the fact that I was able to do that really taught me that I have a lot more strength and to trust myself a lot more. And it's something that I definitely lean into more now in any situation, more than ever. Thank you so much for letting me share this part of my story. It's one of the more vulnerable parts. And if you've been through something similar, let me know in the comments below. Again, if you need resources, I don't know everything, but I can definitely share what I have learned and gathered during this time to try and support you, because I know that IVF and going through any medical treatment can be very daunting, especially when you're trying to expand your family. In episode 3, I'm going to go into taking the break that I needed in order to gear up for our actual IVF journey, and how that helped shape the decisions that we made going into actually starting IVF. Please subscribe to my channel. Make sure you like and comment and share this video with anyone that you know who's going through IVF or struggling to get pregnant. Thank you so much again for watching, and I will see you in the next video, which is right here. See you there. Bye.